Chapter 111. Life and Death Marathon, 2. Doomsday Spiritual Artifact Master. The Zombie King skilled in military strategy. At a critical moment, a domain rose over Tungwan, holding back the flood of zombies surging in like a tide. Song K breathed a sigh of relief. Well done, Tao Tao, she shouted in her mind, aware that Tao Tao couldn't hear her. Yet the lively barking of Tao Tao echoed in her ears like an illusion. Xu Xing clung to Song K's clothes, their disheveled head poking out of the cabin, releasing their abilities with trepidation. Unfortunately, it had little effect. Even after dealing with a group, more zombies followed closely behind. Xu Xing was a bit afraid of heights and also had a fear of densely packed zombies. With a troubled expression, they asked, "Sister, as long as Tao Tao keeps the domain open, won't the zombies be unable to get in?" Before Song K could reply, Zhuang Qingyan broke the innocent wish of Xu Xing. Don't be optimistic. Although Tao Tao's ability covers a large area, it's only sea level and can't hold for long. Domain-type abilities require a considerable amount of mental power support. When Tao Tao covered a single building in the community before, the consumption was relatively small, enabling it to persist for several days. But now, covering the entire city and facing relentless zombie attacks, it was only a matter of time before the ability exhausted. Can we find the position of the Zombie King? Song K turned to Lu Xiaoyu. The number of zombies below was too dense. All one could see were rotting faces and lifeless white eyes. Besides ordinary and evolved zombies, there were also over 1,000 mutant zombies, their awakened energies mixed together, making it hard to distinguish. Lu Xiaoyu released all the unmanned drones, sending them in different directions to quickly scan the zombies. Both Song K and Su Cha were more adept at single-target combat. Faced with a large-scale tide of corpses, they were at a disadvantage. Rushing in recklessly would easily put themselves in danger. It would be best to first find the Zombie King and figure out a way to take it down. Clang, clang, the zombies at the city gate relentlessly pounded the domain. The golden light dispersed for a moment, returning to normal. Yet in that instant gap, several hundred zombies surged in. Tao Tao was starting to struggle. The night was pitch black, stars twinkling, when suddenly, engines roared from all directions. Steamboats, floating cars, and ornate ships, new and old in various designs, arrived just in time. Dazzling abilities burst forth. Windstorms, thunderstorms, intense fires, freezing snow. A multitude of elemental abilities wielded their might, and tens of thousands of zombies fell. A vacuum zone appeared in front of Tungwan's city gate. They were awakeners rushing in from other places to support. Whether it was for an S-level mission or for Tungwan, their arrival was crucial. With the pressure eased at the city gate, Tungwan's counterattack began. Armored vehicles rumbled across the ground. Led by Zhao Lijiang, members of the security team carried flamethrowers and cannons, bravely charging into the zombie army. Even ordinary people climbed onto the city walls, hurling sandbags into the battlefield. Some glass bottles hit the zombies, while others landed on the ground, producing a faint shattering sound. Soon after, they were swept by flamethrowers and artillery, causing intense chemical reactions, corrosion, combustion, explosions. The pungent smell of chemicals filled the air. It was truly remarkable, even in the city of medicine, how distinct their methods of killing zombies were. Found it. Lu Xiaoyu enlarged the screen, and amidst the horde of corpses in the middle, a distinct zombie appeared. Standing at about 3 meters tall, though not as towering as a level 3 zombie, it had robust muscles. Its chest veins wriggled like black serpents. What was more horrifying, behind this zombie were 2 enormous palm-like appendages resembling wings, with claws larger than half its body. Similar to their time in Shanglong, Song K calmly set up a heavy crossbow, aimed, and fired. The arrow whistled through the air toward the Zombie King's head, but as it approached, a nearby mutant zombie stomped, causing the ground to shake, and huge chunks of earth erupted, deflecting the crossbow's attack. This was a classic use of Earth-based abilities. Song K's gaze hardened. Indeed, the Zombie King could control other zombies. Lu Xiaoyu lowered the starship's altitude to the minimum as Song K, Su Cha, Lin Yuyu, and Xu Xing jumped down. "I'll go for the Zombie King. You all provide support," Song K said. Lin Yuyu followed behind Su Cha, enhancing the surrounding awakeners with buffs. As they heard the melodious singing, their spirits lifted, their hands moved faster, making it easier to kill zombies. A-level support type awakeners might have limited combat abilities, but they were remarkably effective on the battlefield. Song K manifested dual blades, rushing toward the Zombie King's position. Her speed was remarkable, almost becoming a blur. Before the zombie army could react, she had dashed past them. With a forceful push from her toes, she leapt into the air, cutting through the battlefield from the side. Both blades came down simultaneously, but the Zombie King sensed the danger, swiftly turned around, and swung all four claws toward Song K. Unfortunately, Song K's blades were faster. Clang! The sharp edge struck the raised flesh wing, but it didn't cut through. The Zombie King fiercely swung its arm, its sharp nails clashing against the blades, producing a teeth-gritting scraping sound. Song K somersaulted backward, landing steadily. Only then did she notice that its flesh wing seemed clad in steel armor, shimmering metallic hues. This was an awakened ability? Did the Zombie King possess an ability? No, Song K quickly realized. It didn't have any awakened energy within itself, but there were numerous mutant zombies around. At a critical moment, one of them must have released an ability to protect the Zombie King. The Zombie King agilely evaded Song K's attack range, leaping onto a collapsed base station. Its lifeless white eyes fixed on Song K, suddenly it dropped onto all fours and let out a low growl. Several level 3 zombies leapt from both sides, while more mutant zombies arranged themselves in a backward step formation, enclosing Song K in a V-shaped formation. Ahead of her were fierce high-level zombies, while behind her, the Zombie King eyed her hungrily. She was trapped within the enemy lines. Song K suddenly realized the most challenging aspect of the Zombie King wasn't its own strength but its ability to command other zombies at will, even forming an army. Blades gleaming with a faint blue light, Song K's awakened energy surged in waves. Instead of fleeing, she chose to confront them head-on. On the starship, Zhuang Qingyan observed the group of zombies facing off against Song K. Her gaze turned cold. Spearhead formation. What's a spearhead formation? Fang Jishu asked. Zhuang Qingyan explained. A spearhead formation relies on infantry and cavalry cooperation, specializing in flanking maneuvers. I never expected zombies to use tactics. This Zombie King might have served as a battlefield commander before. Fang Jishu looked shocked. Are you suggesting the Zombie King retains memories from when it was human? Then why does it attack humans? Zhuang Qingyan stared at the Zombie King's grotesque appearance, shaking his head slowly. No, it's undoubtedly a zombie. I'm inclined to believe it retains human intelligence. If it has intelligence, can't you directly control it? Can't we win easily? Lu Xiaoyu's thoughts always had an unconventional twist. The power of a level 4 zombie was equivalent to that of an A-level awakener. Although Zhuang Qingyan thought the chances were slim, he released his mental ability to probe, only to encounter a hindrance. It has a mental barrier, similar to Tao Tao's domain. Oh, it can even prepare for this? Seems pretty smart. Lu Xiaoyu felt intrigued. Congratulations, you've synchronized brainwaves with the zombie, but unfortunately, it's smarter than you. Zhuang Qingyan couldn't resist poking fun at Lu Xiaoyu. Of course, the barrier wasn't created by the Zombie King itself. It lacked awakened energy and could only utilize the abilities of other mutant zombies. To put it simply, the Zombie King was like a worker screwing in screws, familiar with the use of each screw, and able to place them in the most suitable positions. I think I understand how Rongzhou was destroyed. This Zombie King is too terrifying, Fang Jishu sighed. This is perhaps the most cunning opponent we've encountered, Zhuang Qingyan said in a deep voice. Beneath the base station, Song Kei's dual blades were ruthless, tearing through the flank defense. She faced dozens of high-level zombies alone, like a grim reaper amidst chaos, cutting through the tangled mess. Even splattered with tainted blood, her expression remained unchanged. The military tactics of the ancient civilization emphasized winning before battle, signifying that victorious armies always created a winning momentum before engaging the enemy. And when the situation turned unfavorable, they sought to conserve strength for a future battle. The Zombie King watched the dwindling zombie army, clawing at the ground beneath it, making a thoughtful gesture. In the center of the battlefield, poisonous mist spread around Sucha, rapidly harvesting the lives of zombies. Lin Yuyu cautiously followed him, never forgetting to glance back and instruct, Xiao Xing, stay close. Okay, Xu Xing obediently replied. However, in the midst of the chaotic situation, zombies occasionally lunged forward. Xu Xing, with shorter legs and a timid disposition, got obstructed 3 or 4 times, gradually falling behind Lin Yuyu. Luckily, his position was relatively close to the city gate, with other powered individuals and members of the guard nearby, so it wasn't particularly dangerous. Mechanically and numbly, Xu Xing threw ice spikes into the pile of zombies. There were so many of them that even his haphazard throws managed to impale a large number. Various abilities flew around him, shells and flames intertwined, chemical bottles bobbed up and down intermittently. Xu Xing couldn't help but wonder amidst the chaos, could this kind of chaotic fighting accidentally harm their own people? For better or worse, a tornado-like power whirled, picking up a massive bunch of zombies. Whether due to a lack of control or the weight being too much, the tornado's eye gradually veered off course, turning in Xu Xing's direction. Cursing himself internally, Xu Xing turned and ran. Unfortunately, with his short legs and light weight, he was swept away after just a few steps. The damned tornado blew for a good 10 seconds. Xu Xing felt like he was in a tumble dryer, disoriented. Finally, he was unceremoniously thrown to the ground. He sat there, feeling aggrieved, rubbing his head, and swaying as he stood up, only to realize he was at the back of the shelter. Suddenly, his eyes widened. Several zombies stared at him expressionlessly, having witnessed his sudden descent from the sky. Describing zombies as expressionless was odd, but these zombies sat or stood in pairs, lacking the fierceness and brutality on their faces. They wore a bored expression, completely detached from the ongoing battle on the front lines. Suddenly, Xu Xing forgot about his dangerous situation. The first thought that crossed his mind was, do zombies procrastinate too? One of the zombies approached Xu Xing. Yes, it walked, using its legs. Its hair was braided in an unattractive style, vaguely showing female features. Xu Xing was surprised to notice that this zombie was relatively intact. Apart from prominent marks on its neck and the murky gray eyes, it appeared more human in other aspects. The braided zombie extended its claws, causing Xu Xing to shiver. Secretly forming ice spikes behind his back, he was taken by surprise as he was suddenly overturned, tumbling and landing on his rear end, making a dwang dwang sound. The zombie seemed to find this amusing and turned back, emitting indistinct sounds from its throat. The other zombies gathered around, like a group of towering bullies, surrounding Xu Xing, clawing at him, pushing him around, flipping him over, as if toying with a soft ball. These peculiar zombies seemed to be having fun. They neither killed him nor attacked the city, simply playing around with Xu Xing. Xu Xing was stupefied. What is happening? Is he being bullied by zombies? At that moment, a low growl of the Zombie King suddenly came from the direction of Tungwen. The large horde of zombies within a dozen kilometers received the call and, no longer interested in the fight, immediately dispersed like a receding tide. The Zombie King abandoned the siege. Tungwen was safe. A thunderous cheer erupted. Excited powered individuals and the guard chased the fleeing zombies, driving them far away. Several zombies in front of Xu Xing glanced at each other. Yes, they actually made an apparent eye contact gesture. The braided zombie retracted its claws, and the others followed her, stealthily blending into the troops and gradually disappearing from sight. Covered in dirt, Xu Xing climbed up from the ground, feeling utterly perplexed. Chapter 112. Life and Death Marathon 3. Doomsday Spiritual Artifact Master. The Fallen Ones. The zombie tide was rapidly receding, and the Awakeners chased after them relentlessly, seizing the opportunity to kill a few more to earn some points. Song Ke watched the back of the Zombie King. Its two pairs of sturdy flesh wings not only didn't become a burden but instead, in motion, seemed to grant it added strength. With all four limbs in sync, it leapt several times in succession, swiftly disappearing on the horizon, accompanied by a group of lackeys. It seemed this time they couldn't kill it. Song Ke spun her dual blades in a graceful dance, then slowly sheathed them on her back. She returned to the position of the starship, rejoining with Zhuang Qingyan and the others. Soon after, Lin Yuyu and Su Cha also returned, but Xu Xing was nowhere to be seen. "Where's Xiao Xing?" Song Ke inquired. "He was just here. Why did this kid leave?" Lin Yuyu also found it strange. "Xiao Xing, where are you?" Song Ke messaged the V587 chat group. After 2 seconds, Xu Xing sent a crying emoji followed by a voice message. Upon listening, it was the sound of heavy breathing as if running. "Hoo, wait for me." As long as he was safe, Song Ke hopped onto the hovering starship, let one leg dangle, assumed a comfortable position at the door, and waited. The S-level commission to guard Tungwen was directly issued by the Alliance's Awakener headquarters. As long as the terminal's real-time recording function was activated, the number of zombies killed would automatically be tallied, and corresponding rewards distributed. Song Ke mainly harvested evolved and mutant zombies in this wave. Leaving aside the points, she received a hefty sum of Alliance coins, suddenly rising from being broke to moderately wealthy. Indeed, S-level commissions were incredibly lucrative, Song Ke thought, silently counting the balance in her personal account. Not far ahead, several hovercars raced past, chasing the zombie horde, relentlessly attacking them with wide-range abilities. Song Ke sensed a strong awakened energy and glanced at it, unexpectedly discovering that the Awakeners in those cars were formidable, their coordination precise. They were the ones who had initially intercepted the zombie tide's charge, allowing the armored vehicles of the security team to come out of the city. On top of one of the hovercars, a tall young man knelt in a standard sniping posture, his face mostly concealed by night vision goggles. He fired his rifle at an incredible speed, almost without aiming. A shot every second, each one blowing off a zombie's head with specialized explosive rounds, piercing through their foreheads, instantly exploding them like rotten watermelons. The resulting blast scattered chunks of decayed flesh and putrid blood, a display of extreme and brutal aesthetics. Observing for a moment, Song Ke noticed that this person not only had impeccable marksmanship but also was highly purposeful. Like her, he specifically targeted evolved and mutant zombies. As the hovercar passed by, a series of notifications echoed from his terminal. "You have killed one level 3 zombie, 276 regular zombies, earning 5,760 points and 4x Alliance coins. You have killed 3 mutant zombies, 155 regular zombies, earning 4,550 points and 4x Alliance coins." The kill reports inundated the screen. The man's black hair fluttered in the night wind, a ruby earring shining brightly from his left ear, hinting at a rebellious and assertive demeanor. Song Ke waited for about 20 minutes until the zombie tide vanished without a trace, and the pursuing Awakeners returned home. Some left Tungwen, while others applied for temporary access into the city. Only then did Xu Xing arrive, leisurely. "Xu Xiao Xing, were you slacking off?" Lin Yuyu teased. Believe it or not, Xu Xing indeed resembled a little wild boar rolling in the mud. Covered in sweat and dirt, his curly hair stuck to his forehead, looking quite disheveled. "I wasn't," Xu Xing panted heavily, his face flushed. The mention of slacking off angered him. The tornado had blown him over 10 kilometers away, and Xu Xing had to run back on foot, panting heavily. If it weren't for his awakened abilities and a physique surpassing ordinary people, he would have collapsed from exhaustion. Not an ideal place for conversation, the 7 of them headed toward the city gate. Most of the awakeners had dispersed by now, leaving a few hovercars parked at the outpost, surrounded by a dozen or so people. Surprisingly, the magistrate of Tungwen, Chen Zuyi, personally came out to greet them. As they approached, they overheard the conversation between the two. Yes, Commander, he arrived in District C-72 recently and upon hearing about Tungwan's situation, immediately dispatched us for support. Chu Hong is really kind, thank her for me. And thank you, too, for today, Chen Zuyi sighed. You're welcome. The young man, contrary to his assertive presence, spoke in a polite and courteous manner. Commander, he specifically instructed that with the increasing frequency of the tide of corpses, Tungwen must be fully prepared. She is stationed in District B and cannot directly interfere with the internal affairs of District C. She could only arrange through personal connections to bring in 2 professional experts to support your work. 2 academically inclined individuals stepped out from the backseat of the hovercar. The young man introduced, this is Ms. Lu Shu, a B-level engineering awakener. She previously served as the dean of the 5th Design Institute and conducted in-depth research on the attack patterns of the zombie tide. She will collaborate with you in redesigning Tungwan's defenses. Lu Shu appeared to be around 40 years old, dressed in simple work clothes and carrying a white briefcase, presenting a competent and agile demeanor. Chen Zuyi urgently needed talent in engineering. Upon learning Lu Shu's identity, he showed delight and eagerly shook her hand. And one more person, Gao Xiangyang, a genetic biologist and also one of the first outstanding graduates of the Lausanne training program. I've heard that Tungwen is researching anti-zombification agents, and Dr. Gao's expertise is in this area. He voluntarily applied to come here for exchange and learning. Gao Xiangyang, in his early 30s, was slender. Upon hearing this, he adjusted his high-powered glasses and bowed to Chen Zuyi. Please guide me. Dr. Gao is too modest. Those selected for the Lausanne program are the top research talents in the Alliance. We should seek advice from you. With your participation, the anti-zombification agent will surely be developed soon, Chen Zuyi hastily replied, gesturing with his hands. At that moment, Song Kei's group approached. Zhuang Qingyan took the initiative to greet Chen Zuyi. Magistrate Chen, good to see you again. It's you guys. Chen Zuyi relaxed his demeanor when facing them, his smile warmer. Thank you for your support. I've said it before, Tungwan's doors are always open to you. Zhuang Qingyan smiled. We came this time mainly because we wanted to perform surgery. What surgery? If needed, I can help arrange. Chen Zuyi offered. As the two conversed briefly, Song Kei noticed something unusual about the scientist named Gao Xiangyang. His gaze casually swept over the group, suddenly halting, fixing intensely on Zhuang Qingyan. His eyes displayed confusion, surprise, gradually turning into disbelief. Gao Xiangyang's lips trembled a few times, as if wanting to say something, but ultimately chose to remain silent. Song Kei followed his gaze, looking over at Zhuang Qingyan's clean and unmarked face. What could be there to notice? The young man stood patiently by, waiting for Zhuang Qingyan and Chen Zuyi to finish their conversation before speaking again. To prevent another zombie tide attack, we will stay in Tungwen for 2 days. During this time, we are at your service. Not at all, I dare not impose such a request. Chen Zuyi waved his hand again. Thank you all for your concern. The young man led the group, including Lu Shu and Gao Xiangyang, into the city. Chen Zuyi assigned 2 subordinates to arrange their accommodation. As the group moved away, Chen Zuyi relaxed slightly, his expression truly easing up. Magistrate Chen, if it's okay to ask, who were those people? They seem quite influential. Lin Yuyu seized the opportunity to inquire. They indeed have quite an influence. They're from the northern base, District B10. Chen Zuyi explained. The leader is Yin Xiao, the captain of the Awakener team, Tuston. His strength is close to that of an S-level Awakener. He's quite renowned even in District B. He Chu-hong, the commander of the northern base, shares a bond with me from our college days. With Tungwen in trouble and her conveniently nearby in District C, she dispatched her Awakeners to support us. From Chen Zuyi's tone, it seemed that his old college friend not only generously sent technical experts and combat personnel, without asking for payment or favors, but also came to Tungwen's aid at a crucial time. However, despite this act of kindness, Chen Zuyi deeply sighed for reasons unknown. After entering Tungwen and walking along the central street for a short while, Song Ke witnessed a rather perplexing scene. Tao Tao's mother was pushing a tent stroller, surrounded by enthusiastic locals. Tao Tao, dressed in new clothes, sat inside, sticking out a pink tongue, smiling with a motherly warmth on her face. The local residents, crazily stuffing snacks and teething toys into the stroller, almost overwhelmed Tao Tao with their enthusiasm. Bang! Eventually, she couldn't bear it anymore and activated her field, pushing everyone except herself and her mother away. Strangely, those pushed away seemed happy, excitedly murmuring strange words to Tao Tao, who couldn't understand them. No wonder. Tao Tao was now the hero of Tungwen, or should it be, hero dog, having saved the lives of many in the city. Song Ke struggled through the crowd, waving at Tao Tao. It had been months. She wondered if Tao Tao still remembered them. Tao Tao's small eyes spotted her, happily barking twice. It seemed the memory of the mutant dog was pretty good. After exchanging a few words with Tao Tao's mother and arranging to visit Tao Tao in a few days, Song Ke managed to squeeze out of the crowd. This time, they didn't need to rent an apartment. Fang Jishu had to reapply for identification, and then return to the hospital to coordinate the surgery. Therefore, V587 moved into Fang Jishu's home. Finally finding an opportunity to vent, Xu Xing exaggeratedly recounted how the braided zombie had bullied him, deeply indignant. However, the attention of the others was focused on a different aspect. Was its braiding skill any good? Lin Yu teased. By your account, they only pushed you around and didn't bite you? Fang Jishu expressed doubt, diverting the conversation. Are you sure you're being objective? Su Cha questioned Xu Xing's statement. I am sure, Xu Xing yelled angrily, jumping up and down. Meanwhile, Song Ke fell into silence. Zombies with visible decay but coherent thoughts, capable of overcoming the instinct to bite. She had encountered such zombies before. Not only had she encountered them, but she had also saved them. 6 months ago, Song Ke had left Fool's Wharf in District F-177. At that time, Ant Ching and Xiao Bao had already displayed typical zombie traits, yet for some reason, they retained a hint of consciousness. Plan Eternity. Zhuang Qingyan suddenly spoke, introducing an unfamiliar term. The others looked at him, puzzled. Plan Eternity is a secret research project aimed at mutated organisms. It stimulates constant cell division and renewal by controlling radiation variables within the organism. This extends the horizontal axis of life, awakening unique abilities. When the radiation reaches a stable value, it achieves undying thoughts and perpetuity of the body. The ultimate goal of this research is to accomplish the evolution of humanity. If we apply the same concept to zombies, ordinary zombies, the lowest level, are essentially pure failures. Evolved zombies represent a self-rescue attempt of these failures. Even though their decaying bodies persist, they are mindless monsters. Mutant zombies are successes turned failures. Though they awaken abilities, they forever lose their consciousness. The researchers once hypothesized whether there might be a type of zombie possessing both consciousness and a robust body. They named this new species, the Fallen. Unfortunately, research on the Fallen triggered a chain of ethical issues and was swiftly halted. The project members kept it deeply buried. Why? Song Ke queried. Because they started to fear. The fundamental distinction that allows humans to surpass other species is our unique way of thinking. So, when zombies possess consciousness, are they monsters or a different form of evolved humans? Chapter 113. Life and Death Marathon. 4. Doomsday Spiritual Artifact Master. He couldn't have been Zhuang Qingyan. Tongwen, 119th Hospital. The orthopedic outpatient department on the 10th floor, as an elite discipline of Alliance-level significance with an excellent reputation, has always been the most crowded area. Especially after enduring last night's corpse tide, where hundreds of zombies escaped the nets and broke into the city, residents rose up in resistance, and many were injured. At this moment, apart from the radiation specialist on the 13th floor, the busiest department is the surgery department. Ding! The elevator reached the 10th floor, and a figure in a white coat stepped out. The man had a slender figure, semi-long hair neatly tied at the back of his head. He walked swiftly and steadily through the corridor, stopping at the door of his former office. He had arrived relatively early, yet to his surprise, a group of people was already waiting there, including several hospital leaders. Oh my God, Fang, Dr. Fang, Dr. Fang, it's really Dr. Fang, you're finally back. Dr. Fang, we've missed you so much. The man in the white coat lifted his head, revealing a pair of mature, weathered eyes. It was Fang Zhishu. The dean, who was aware of the situation, approached, grasping Fang Zhishu's shoulder and examining his gaunt cheeks, saying softly, I heard about the tragedy involving Nai Kong and his son. You, sigh, it's a small comfort that they got what they deserved. Zhishu, it's time for you to move on, stop torturing yourself. The dean wasn't aware of Fang Zhishu's relationship with V587 and assumed he was aware of Nai Kang's death and had regained composure only after avenging it. Lu Ning rushed down from the 13th floor and abruptly halted in front of Fang Zhishu. Tears welled up in her eyes. Senior Fang, the light she had been pursuing had returned. Lu Ning had no other thoughts. She just looked at Fang Zhishu and felt like crying. Fang Zhishu removed his mask, nodded to his former leaders and colleagues, and said, Dean, and everyone else, I apologize for causing you worry. In a hurry, so I'll be brief. There's a patient with a unique condition needing immediate surgery. This operation must be done by me personally. Although I'm no longer a practicing doctor here, I'd like to request the use of the operating room. What are you saying? I haven't approved your resignation report. It's still on my desk, the dean scolded with a smile. Having Dr. Fang perform surgery is a rare learning opportunity. Who among you will assist? I'll assist, Lu Ning said without hesitation. I will. I'll be the second assistant. I excel in traction and fixation. I'll help with hand washing and wiping sweat. Can I stand by and observe? Zhishu, when do you need the operating room? I'll coordinate the arrangements, the dean asked. Sooner the better, Fang Zhishu said in a low voice. The patient can't afford any delay. VIP Room 7. Starting from the early hours, Zhuang Qingyan's remaining right hand also lost sensation. This meant he could no longer move independently. His entire body muscles were atrophying, nerve cells decaying at a terrifying speed, gradually losing control over his own body. Song Ke lowered her head, fingertips inching along Zhuang Qingyan's right leg, exploring through the thin hospital gown. From the ankle, to the calf, slowly over the knee, and up to the thigh. While lying down, the defect in his right leg was particularly prominent. Compared to the robust left leg, it appeared more fragile and slender, visibly shorter, with a distorted and malformed shape, far from being aesthetically pleasing. Zhuang Qingyan's broken leg was severe from the start, worsened due to sloppy treatment, causing the broken bones inside to misalign and fuse improperly. During the time with Mu City, he, disregarding consequences, took 2 shots of powerful sealing agents in a short time, further worsening the injury. Song Ke felt like a heavy stone was pressing on her heart, gasping for air in a suffocating manner. It felt as if she had swallowed an unripe orange, feeling astringent and swollen inside. She couldn't quite explain why, but seeing Zhuang Qingyan like this made her feel more distressed than her own injuries. Her worried expression resembled that of a young widow about to be widowed. Zhuang Qingyan smiled faintly. Song Kiki, are you taking advantage of me? Huh? Song Ke looked up in confusion. Come here. Zhuang Qingyan blinked, signaling to speak in a hushed tone. Glancing at Lin Yuyu and Xu Xing on the other side of the ward, as well as Su Cha and Lu Xiaoyu by the window, Song Ke shuffled closer, lowered her head, and brought her ear closer to Zhuang Qingyan's lips. Who said you could touch a man's leg like that? Zhuang Qingyan's voice was light, carrying a subtle charm. Do you think I'm too weak to resist now? Taking advantage of someone in a vulnerable state? Song Ke swiftly withdrew her hand, cheeks puffing up, clearly displeased. Zhuang Qingyan initially wanted to touch her face in response but found his hands couldn't lift. He paused, still with a smile on his lips, though his eyelashes drooped. Rest assured, I'm very generous. After the surgery, I'll let you touch as much as you want. Song Ke scoffed a couple of times. I am not interested. Zhuang Qingyan's eyes were deep, filled with amusement as he gazed into her peach blossom eyes. The patient in VIP room 7 can pay for the surgery now, the head nurse reminded, knocking on the door. Coming, Song Ke dashed out to make the payment. As she left, the atmosphere in the ward instantly grew silent. Zhuang Qingyan's smile disappeared, replaced by a touch of melancholy in his eyes. The sensation of being unable to control his actions was something he had never experienced in nearly 30 years of life, and his pride didn't allow him to accept such helplessness. Lu Xiaoyu tinkered with his worn-out mechanical arm by the side, the constant click-clack noise echoing in the room. Can you quiet down a bit? Zhuang Qingyan's gaze was cutting. I'm fixing my leg. Lu Xiaoyu deliberately emphasized the word, leg. Can I dismantle your wheelchair? Anyway, you won't be needing it. Don't even think about it. Even if I don't need it, it's still mine, Zhuang Qingyan said icily. Lu Xiaoyu fell silent for a moment. The click-clack noise grew louder. Lin Yuyu leaned on her chin, sighing. I thought you had a good mindset, turns out it was all an act. Once Song Ke left, even the pretense was dropped, and all the hostility surfaced. Zhuang Qingyan didn't argue. He closed his eyes and whispered, during the surgery, don't let her wait outside. The young girl appeared innocent but had a heavy heart. He didn't want her to worry, nor did he want her to witness his most wretched state. When Song Ke returned after paying, Fang Jishu had already arrived with the medical assistants and anesthesiologist, ready to take Zhuang Qingyan to the operating room. As she was about to follow, Lin Yuyu stopped her with a hand. Song Ke, I need to go to the 5th hospital. It's chaotic outside, will you come with me? Song Ke pointed to the tall figure standing nearby. There's Su Cha, it's safe. Lin Yuyu hesitated, realizing they hadn't coordinated well and forgot to signal Su Cha, who had no clue about the plan. Captain, I need to buy materials, Lu Xiaoyu suddenly spoke up. I gave you money already. Song Ke held onto her terminal quietly. Lu Xiaoyu was like a money-devouring beast. Her wallet was emptied once again. I don't know the way, Lu Xiaoyu said seriously. Huh? Do you want me to accompany you? Song Ke asked. Lu Xiaoyu retracted the remaining 4 mechanical arms, settled back into the wheelchair, the silver hair resting quietly on their shoulders, resembling a frail youth. Song Ke hesitated as she glanced at Lu Xiaoyu. True, Lu Xiaoyu hadn't been to Tongwen, and claiming not to know the way seemed plausible, but something felt off to her. Fang Jishu vaguely sensed something amiss and advised, I'm well aware of Zhuang Qingyan's situation. The main difficulty in the surgery lies in repairing the broken bones, which will take a long time. You don't need to wait at the hospital. We'll contact you immediately once it's done. Song Ke shuffled her feet on the ground for a while before responding, okay. Leaving the hospital, Lin Yuyu and Su Cha took a turn toward the 5th hospital. Meanwhile, Song Ke and Xu Xing accompanied Lu Xiaoyu to buy modified materials. After visiting only 2 stores, Lu Xiaoyu suddenly insisted on acting alone. Song Ke paused the navigation projection, a hint of confusion in her eyes. Didn't he claim not to know the way? Didn't he want me to accompany him? Lu Xiaoyu coldly remarked. You guys are too slow. The 4 battered mechanical arms rose simultaneously, 3 on the left and pitifully only 1 on the right. Lu Xiaoyu, resembling a limping spider, didn't need navigation at all. Skillfully navigating the streets and alleys, they swiftly moved away, 1 high and 1 low. Song Ke, suddenly, it dawned on her. Lu Xiaoyu, an S-level hacker, how could he not know the way? It was only she who didn't know the way. With nothing else to do, Song Ke led Xu Xing and opted to head to the shelter, completing tasks to earn alliance coins. The S-level mission to guard Tungwen hadn't been closed yet. Outside the Luya shelter, wandering zombies were still visible. Under the high walls, piles of decaying bodies formed small mountains, emitting a putrid smell that stung the senses. However, the rewards for killing zombies in the vicinity were exceptionally generous. The 2 worked together seamlessly. Xu Xing released wide-ranging ice and snow while Song Ke swiftly moved among the frozen zombie sculptures, harvesting efficiently. Girl with braids. Mid-battle, Xu Xing suddenly called out, pointing to a spot. Following his gaze, Song Ke noticed a zombie standing out among the rest. While others had their heads up, sniffing for human scent, this one kept its head down, seemingly searching for something. Before Song Ke could react, Xu Xing dashed out like a runaway horse. With the confidence of having a backer today, he ran up to the braided zombie, hands on hips, shouting, "Come over here." The roaming zombies swarmed in. Xu Xing scrambled to deal with them while the braided zombie remained motionless, eyes seemingly contemplating him. Taking another glance, Song Ke estimated the female zombie to be around 13 or 14, not much older than Xiao Xing. Once the area was secure, the braided zombie emitted muffled sounds from its throat. It circled around Xu Xing, occasionally extending claws to try to grab him. However, today Xu Xing was well prepared and maneuvered like a nimble chick, running around while giggling. In the past 6 months, Xu Xing had traveled with them, faced death sentences and assassinations, forcing him to mature and become responsible. There were few carefree moments like this, but being young, he hadn't lost his childlike innocence. Lacking companions his age, he unexpectedly ended up playing with a zombie. After playing for a while, the braided zombie suddenly perked its ears, seemingly hearing something, and dashed toward the direction of the city wall. Xu Xing, not quite done yet, waved to its departing figure. Bye-bye Tilda. After Song Ke cleared the surrounding zombies, she approached Xu Xing. Let's head back. Xu Xing took her hand, nodding obediently. Outside the high walls of Luya shelter, several hovercars hovered low. Powerful wide-ranging abilities covered the entire area, dazzling lights flashing one after another, blasting zombies one after another. Song Ke recognized it as the abilities of the Tustan Awakener team, cleaning up the tide of corpses. A graceful figure flashed by. The braided zombie, previously playing with Xu Xing, suddenly rushed into the smoke and dust, embracing a nearly bisected zombie carcass, emitting mournful cries. Strangely, Song Ke noticed a hint of pain on its face. The hovercars chased after it. Yin Xiao, an awakener, leapt onto the roof of one, holding a submachine gun, evidently ready to take action. Sister, Xu Xing tugged at Song Ke's clothes, speaking hesitantly. Xiao Xing, it's a zombie. Song Ke understood what he was thinking. Xu Xing shook his head stubbornly, explaining, no, it's not a zombie. It's a fallen. After Zhuang Qingyan narrated the origins of the Fallens, Song Ke's feelings toward this group of beings on the outskirts became complex. Though they couldn't be classified as human, they shouldn't simply be categorized as zombies in a rough manner. Sister, Xu Xing pleaded once again. Okay. Song K patted Shu Xing's head and swiftly charged forward like an arrow. Yin Xiao obviously spotted this unique zombie too. He aimed and shot, bullets hitting a bluish iron plate, providing cover for Song K. Taking advantage of the chaos, she pushed the braided zombie, which seemed to sense something, dragging its nearly bisected companion away. Meanwhile, the stray shotgun pellets veered off course, returning near the hovercars, exploding on impact, eliciting a series of curses. "Watch out, it almost hit my foot. Captain, even you miss sometimes, haha." Yin Xiao jumped off the car's roof, locking his gaze on the suddenly emerged Song K. "What's your deal, snatching the zombie from my hands?" Today, he wasn't wearing protective goggles, clad in camouflage combat gear, his pants tucked into black military boots, giving him a sturdy and agile appearance. It wasn't until Song K got closer that she noticed his grayish, light-colored pupils. Admitting her fault, Song K hesitantly tried to excuse herself. "Sorry, it slipped." Though she didn't mean it that way, her words sounded quite provocative. Yin Xiao sneered, his ruby earrings sparkling, and said in the common tongue, "Lady, do you think I'm that easy to fool?" Dropping his submachine gun, he accelerated toward her, delivering a powerful straight jab with his elbow. Without transforming a spiritual weapon, Song K met the attack bare-handed, raising her left knee high, leveraging the ground to propel herself, launching a fierce spinning kick toward his throat. Yin Xiao dodged by lowering his head, then swiftly altered his punch to an inward angle, his lean waist suddenly twisting, aiming a flat punch toward Song K's cheek. Slightly furrowing her brows at the discomfort, she agilely flipped midair, kicking away Yin Xiao's wrist. As they landed, they clashed without hesitation, surprising everyone. Yin Xiao, not only skilled in sniping but also adept in close combat, always found deceptive angles, interrupting Song K's fluid attacks. They exchanged moves for 100 rounds, neither gaining a clear advantage. Observing Yin Xiao engage in a one-on-one fight, the other Awakeners refrained from interfering. After clearing the nearby zombies, they all jumped off the car to watch the spectacle, cheering and whistling, treating the clash as a sporting event. Song K was increasingly feeling uncomfortable and unable to fully exert her strength. As they continued fighting, her irritation grew. Suddenly changing tactics, she lightning fast seized her opponent's arm, applied a shoulder lock, and fiercely twisted his joints. With a loud thud, both crashed onto the dusty ground. Yin Xiao landed on his back, with Song K's knee pressing down on his left hand and her two hands restraining his right, preventing his movements. "I really didn't mean to snatch from you," Song K, straddling him, explained helplessly. Yin Xiao grinned broadly. "I found your weak spot." Song K replied, "Huh? What? My ability is to see through an enemy's weak points. You're really skilled. You have almost no weaknesses in combat," Yin Xiao declared. Song K slightly curved her lips, modestly smiling. "Is that so? What about you? What's your ability?" Yin Xiao focused on her face, where two faint dimples had emerged just earlier. He was straightforward in his questioning, so Song K answered honestly, "Metal manipulation, object transformation." "So, it means you gave me an advantage?" he inquired. "You weren't using a gun," Song K explained sincerely. "I'll compensate for the zombies I knocked away." "Got it, now release me," Yin Xiao replied. Song K eased her knee, stood up, and suddenly, Yin Xiao leapt, embracing her shoulder and forcefully pushing forward. Simultaneously, he stretched out a leg, attempting to trip her ankle. Song K lost her balance in an instant. With a thud, the gravel scattered as both fell again. This time, Yin Xiao was on top, shielding the back of her head with his palm. Song K glared at him in anger. Using his elbow for support, Yin Xiao got up and touched his earring, smirking. "Now we're even." Song K slowly got up, silently dusting herself off. Shu Xing hurried over to help her brush off the dirt. Outside the wall, the other members of the Tustan team had finished clearing the zombies. At that moment, Gao Xianyang was escorted by 2 other awakeners. The sample coverage isn't enough. It's better to collect more. He saw Song Ke and abruptly fell silent, standing still for 2 seconds before mustering the courage to approach. Hello, we met at the city gate yesterday. Do you remember? Gao Xianyang asked cautiously. Song Ke nodded. Can I ask you something? Gao Xianyang inquired carefully. Song Ke wasn't easily swayed. You first, speak. Are your friends 2 individuals who use wheelchairs? Yes. Could you tell me the name of the man who uses a wheelchair but has intact legs? Gao Xianyang's tone suddenly became urgent. What do you want with him? Song Ke's expression turned cautious. This person was already acting suspiciously yesterday, and now this sudden agitation made him even more suspicious. I don't mean any harm. I just want to know his name. He looks extremely similar to someone I know. There might be a connection. Gao Xianyang appeared very anxious. I'm not a bad person, truly. My name is Gao Xianyang. I'm 33 years old, graduated from the 1st Military Academy of Asgar, majoring in biology. Fearing that Song Ke might not believe him, Gao Xianyang used his terminal to display all his identification documents and details. Yin Xiao, accompanied by the Tustan members, surrounded them but remained silent, observing the conversation. Glancing at Gao Xianyang's information, the lengthy list of honors and unreadable thesis titles felt like a swarm of insects crawling before her eyes. With just a glance, it made her feel dizzy and overwhelmed. Can you tell me, please? Gao Xianyang pleaded. Was there any taboo related to Zhang Qingyan's name? Not really. Since they met, whether among the people from Azure Phoenix or various magistrates, he never hesitated to introduce himself. His name is Zhuang Qingyan, Song Ke replied. Gao Xianyang was thunderstruck. His terminal fell to the ground with a clatter. How is that possible? He couldn't possibly be Zhuang Qingyan. Chapter 114. Life and Death Marathon, 5. Doomsday Spiritual Artifact Master. Vincent, Z. Gao Xianyang asserted firmly, he could never be Zhuang Qingyan. Dr. Gao, if you speak any louder, you'll summon all the zombies back, Yin Xiao teased lightly. Oh, I'm sorry. Gao Xianyang realized his reaction was excessive and quickly apologized, lowering his voice. Shall we talk inside the car? It's not safe down here, Yin Xiao suggested proactively. No need, Song Ke rejected instantly. Yin Xiao chuckled, didn't say more, waved to the sky, and a hovercar approached slowly. With a single hand support, he leapt into the car. Song Ke stared at Gao Xianyang, slowly speaking, why can't he be Zhuang Qingyan? Gao Xianyang sighed, do you know Vincent, Z? Song Ke shook her head confidently, don't know. Gao Xianyang pressed further, what about Dr. Zhuang? Song Ke continued shaking her head, don't know. Gao Xianyang hesitated for a moment. The Qinglin Institute, you've heard of it, right? This time, Song Ke nodded, I know. It was from Zhuang Qingyan. Gao Xiangnan breathed a sigh of relief. Vincent, also known as Dr. Zhuang, is a godfather-level biological scientist of the Alliance. He's the soul behind genetic engineering, and the initial purpose of the Qinglin Institute was to gather the entire Alliance's scientific force to support his research to the fullest. Vincent led the gene splicing and DNA recombination project, breaking the boundaries of inherent biological species. It truly achieved the transfer of genetic information across species, marking the greatest scientific achievement since the New Era, the first year of the new calendar, worldwide. Dr. Gao became more excited as he spoke, his eyes reflecting a certain fervor. My lifelong dream is to join the team under his personal guidance. Song Ke silently opened the terminal and searched for this Vincent, Z. The results showed up in thousands of pages, overwhelming compared to Gao Xianyang's honorary titles. Song Ke roughly scanned through Vincent's biography, encountering dense blocks of professional descriptions that made her eyes sparkle and breathing difficult, almost causing her to feel dizzy. Amidst the haze, she only remembered the greatest scientist of the new era, and the godfather of Qinglin. Yin Xiao emerged from the hovercar and, from a distance, tossed two things towards Song Ke. Keep going. Song Ke received them in her hands and glanced down. They were special energy drinks supplied exclusively to awakeners in the northern base. Unopened, the bottles had codes on them, seemingly not regular items available in the market. She glanced up at Yin Xiao, who made a drinking gesture. Song Ke handed one bottle to Xu Xing, held onto the remaining one, but didn't drink it. What's the relationship between Vincent and Zhuang Qingyan? She persistently asked Gao Xianyang. Of course, there's a relation. Gao Xianyang involuntarily raised his voice, got a glance from Yin Xiao, and lowered it. Relationship. Vincent once held a lecture in Asgar. I was incredibly lucky to get selected to attend. I remember it vividly. During the Q&A session, someone asked him if he deliberately maintained a mysterious persona online because everyone referred to him as Vincent or Dr. Zhuang, not knowing his real name. Vincent said no, that there were no public images of him to avoid unnecessary trouble. As for his real name, it actually came from an ancient writing tool of an old civilization, signifying perseverance and determination. Because the pronunciation in the common language was awkward, everyone got used to calling him Vincent. After answering, Vincent even displayed on the screen the name he wrote with his own hands, which was Zhuang Qingyan. Oh, so Zhuang Qingyan is Vincent? Song Ke naturally assumed that someone who knew so much must be some kind of scientific luminary. Gao Xianyang shook his head gravely. No, I attended that lecture when I was 13. Song Ke widened her eyes slightly. 20 years have passed. How could a person remain unchanged, or even appear younger and healthier? Gao Xianyang murmured to himself. Even if the appearance is identical, your friend couldn't possibly be Zhuang Qingyan. Perhaps due to long seclusion in the laboratory, Vincent rarely appeared in public, and although his face was strikingly similar, he didn't look too well. His hair was disheveled, his skin pale, and he had prominent dark circles under his eyes, appearing extremely fatigued. Did your friend use Vincent's genetic information for facial reconstruction? Gao Xianyang suddenly speculated, speaking faster. Facial changes aside, how could he dare to use Vincent's real name? Shameful, absolutely shameful. Is it illegal? Song Ke asked expressionlessly. No, it's not illegal. Gao Xianyang's eyes held condemnation. But it's unethical. Even if one idolizes Vincent, they should use some common sense. Even if his appearance is the same as Vincent's, the biological information cannot be altered. He can never become Zhuang Qingyan. Okay, Song Ke responded dryly. Gao Xianyang felt indignant and passionately said, you should advise him to change back to his original appearance. I can offer help. We're leaving. Song Ke automatically ignored his ramblings, grabbing Xu Xing's hand, heading towards the entrance of Luoya. Wait, Yin Xiao positioned himself in front of her. What's your name? Just hearing the word, name, gave Song Ke a headache. Without looking back, she passed by him. None of your business. Please, try to talk some sense into him. Gao Xianyang continued shouting from behind. Song Ke and Xu Xing sat side by side on a park bench, sipping their drinks. Xu Xing delicately sipped through a straw, legs swinging gently, while Song Ke tore open the cap and guzzled down half the bottle, feeling refreshed, even a tad more energetic. Song Ke didn't believe Zhuang Qingyan was the kind of person Gao Xianyang described. Someone who went through extreme lengths of idolizing Vincent and underwent surgery to resemble him. From the beginning, Zhuang Qingyan claimed to be a researcher at Qinglan Institute, showing genuine familiarity with it. If he were masquerading as Vincent for work, wouldn't it be easy to get caught? Then there was his work ID, verified by Wu Juman as authentic, with high permissions. Would Azure Phoenix's people make such an error? At least it meant Zhuang Qingyan's credentials were genuine. How could he possess his ID if he wasn't truly Zhuang Qingyan? Moreover, even if Vincent didn't often appear in public, he was someone whose information spanned thousands of pages online. There would be people who knew him, recognized his face. Why would Zhuang Qingyan choose to look like Vincent instead of altering his appearance to be more ordinary? And the most crucial question remained. Why would he modify his own genetic information? Lost in these thoughts, Song Kei's mind drifted. If Zhuang Qingyan wasn't Zhuang Qingyan, then who was he really? She sighed heavily, troubled, covering her face. Zhuang Qingyan had claimed he wouldn't lie if she asked, but did she really want to ask? Zhuang Qingyan is a huge liar, Xu Xing piped up, seizing the chance to complain while sipping his drink. Xiao Xing, he's our teammate, Song Kei replied, ruffling Xu Xing's hair, her disagreement apparent. He's always lying, never telling sister about his abilities, always bullying me secretly. I said he's a wanted criminal, and he threatened me. You can't just casually accuse others of being. Song Kei's words halted abruptly. Wanted. In her mind, a flash of light occurred momentarily, gathering all the scattered clues into a tangled mess, unraveling the threads of the mystery right before her eyes. Why would someone change their appearance? Unless they had a reason they couldn't avoid, like being a wanted criminal. At the Qinglin Research Institute, the anomaly when Zhuang Qingyan met Xie Ningyu. The answer was on the verge of emerging. Xiao Xing, can you go back on your own? Song Kei turned and asked. Yes, I can. Xu Xing nodded obediently. After Xu Xing walked away, Song Kei messaged someone, "Where are you?" The other person quickly replied with a location. At the entrance of a high-end materials store, Lu Xiaoyu was sorting out scattered materials, attempting to evenly distribute them among each robotic arm. Song Kei squatted beside him. Later, are you going back to the hospital? Lu Xiaoyu nodded, yes. Having stayed outside for nearly a day, they knew that according to Fang Zhishu's estimation, the surgery was expected to take about 8 hours and should be ending soon. Song Kei casually asked, how do you know Zhuang Qingyan? When we were in school, I unfortunately ended up taking most of the same courses as him, Lu Xiaoyu replied. What school? Something Askar, the first military academy? Askar? No. Lu Xiaoyu glanced at Song Kei. Askar's first military academy was in District B9 and consistently ranked in the top 3 within the alliance. Song Kei knowing about that place surprised him a bit. We were in Liuboni in District A4. Lu Xiaoyu didn't delve into further details, such as Liuboni being the most heavily monopolized knowledge center in the entire alliance. The city consisted mainly of vast academic institutions, divided into different disciplinary factions, and only accepted gene selects for admission, advocating a so-called elite-style education. When you knew each other, was he already called Zhuang Qingyan? Song Kei suddenly asked. Yeah. Lu Xiaoyu paused for less than a second, barely detectable. Oh, Song Kei nodded. Then why didn't you recognize him in the death prison? It's been almost 10 years since we last met. We've both undergone significant changes. It's not surprising that we didn't recognize each other. Has he changed a lot? Lu Xiaoyu looked serious. Yeah, quite a lot. After all, I just lost my legs, but he gave up a portion of his intelligence. Song Kei couldn't help but chuckle. These two always took jabs at each other whenever they got the chance, quite the pair. Is the Lu family on good terms with the Xie family? Song Kei inquired. This time, Lu Xiaoyu remained silent for a good 3 or 4 seconds. Which Xie family? Song Kei blinked. The Xie family from North County, District B6. We've met. Lu Xinglin. He, like you, hails from Erjia, District B8, and is quite familiar with Xie Ningyu. Who's Lu Xinglin? I don't know him, Lu Xiaoyu said calmly. I never waste my memory on people significantly weaker than me. Do you remember people from the Xie family then? Lu Xiaoyu's icy eyes flickered, fixed on Song Kei. For a moment, it seemed as if that name was about to slip from his lips. Lu Xiaoyu. No. Suddenly, Song Kei hoisted up a whole bag of materials from the ground and placed it on the only mechanical arm on his right side. It's getting late, let's head back. Then, without paying attention, she tinkered with the terminal and walked away on her own. Lu Xiaoyu. He swayed on the spot for a moment, barely maintaining balance, muttering to the air, "I didn't say anything." Outside the operating room, members of V587 patiently awaited the outcome. Lin Yuyu casually scrolled through her terminal. "In 2 more days, we'll be heading back to Ferrara. The finals are about to begin, and this time Ilya himself is hosting." They even arranged a pre-game rally, quite a show. No one responded to her. Lin Yuyu looked up and noticed that her companions seemed lost in thought. "Song K-er, what are you thinking?" Nothing," Song K stuttered. Lin Yuyu put away her terminal and scanned the faces of Song K, Xu Xing, and Lu Xiaoyu one by one, suspicion written on her face. "Why do I feel like something's off with you three since you came back?" "Not at all," Song K blinked rapidly. Lin Yuyu wanted to inquire further, but the lights outside the operating room went out. Song K immediately stood up. "He's coming out." Fang Jishu, wearing a mask, slowly emerged, weariness evident in his eyes, a sign of excessive use of his abilities. As he spotted Song K and the others, a hint of relief crossed his face. He removed his mask and smiled. "Let me say something every patient's family loves to hear. The surgery was a success. With a month or 2 of rest, he'll be able to stand up again." After half a year, Zhuang Qingyan woke up once again from the endless cold fog, thankfully this time, able to sense his right leg clearly. Song K hugged her knees, chin resting on her arm, quietly watching him. The hospital room was empty except for the 2 of them. "Song Kiki," Zhuang Qingyan whispered. "Yeah." Song K didn't change her position but acknowledged him. Zhuang Qingyan slowly lifted his hand. The effects of anesthesia hadn't completely worn off, making it a bit difficult for him to exert force. Nonetheless, he managed to control his hand. His slender fingers paused near Song K's cheek, lightly pressing where he remembered her dimple to be. "Who made you angry again? You said last time that we should talk," Song K countered without answering. "No rush, let's talk in a couple of days," Zhuang Qingyan thought. He wanted to find a better moment. "Okay." Song K spread her hand towards him. "Show me your identification." Zhuang Qingyan was somewhat surprised but retrieved it from his space and handed it over. Song K took the work ID, featuring the Qinglin Institute's logo, a blue background with a large headshot. She scrutinized the man in the photo carefully, then glanced up at Zhuang Qingyan. No wonder she felt he looked better in person than in the picture when they first met. "Zhuang Qingyan," Song K called out to the headshot photo. "What's wrong?" replied Zhuang Qingyan on the hospital bed. "Imposter," Song K thought to herself. Chapter 115. Life and Death Marathon, 6. Doomsday Spiritual Artifact Master. The format of the finals. The day after the surgery, V587 set off for Ferrara to prepare for the final race of the throne race competition. Tungwen and Ferrara were both located in the eastern part of the alliance. The distance between the 2 cities wasn't too far. The starship traveling in low orbit would take about 4 hours to reach there, while in high orbit, it would take half the time but required manual control. Luo Xiaoyu was completely absorbed in repairing the mechanical arm and decisively activated the autopilot. Song K opened the porthole and looked down. Through the drifting thin clouds, one could vaguely see cities arranged like a chessboard. Some had turned into cold ruins, while others still stood tall. The highways were jammed with fleeing vehicles and pedestrians, moving in groups toward different directions to escape. Unconsciously, Song K leaned out further, wanting to take a closer look. A strong pair of arms wrapped around her from behind, pulling her back from the window. "Be careful, don't fall out," Zhuang Qingyan said with a smile. He still needed to use a wheelchair for a while, but his hand's nerves had returned to normal. "Who are these people?" Song K asked. "They are refugees, seeking new shelter," Zhuang Qingyan replied. "But their city hasn't faced the zombie tide yet, why are they running?" Song K felt puzzled. Zhuang Qingyan's eyes were cold. "People, you know, are always greedy. As long as there's a little ability, they want to find a safer place." Song K fell silent. Zhuang Qingyan was right. Humans were creatures that sought advantages and avoided harm. When District F-177 first had the zombie outbreak, many, capable, people were the first to board the starships and flee. But now, with the apocalypse upon them, where could truly be safe? Song K asked, "Is there any news about that zombie king?" Zhuang Qingyan nodded. "Come here and see." Song K jumped down from the porthole and sat close to him. Zhuang Qingyan brought up the map on his terminal and deliberately slowed down the speed while marking it. In these 2 days, it has destroyed 2 D-class cities. If we take Tongwen as the center, in chronological order, first at the 11 o'clock direction, then at the 4 o'clock direction. Song K noticed something amiss. Why doesn't it directly go to the 12 o'clock direction? After attacking the 11 o'clock location, the Zombie King chose to take the longer route to the 4 o'clock position because it is extremely cunning. It had done its homework beforehand. Zhuang Qingyan drew a rough map of the 3 cities densely located in the 12 o'clock direction. Greenwater City, District D-132, Rishufu, District D-133, and Haimen, District D-135, are all situated in difficult terrains, backed by mountains and water bodies. They are typically easy to defend and hard to attack. Greenwater City used to be a transportation hub with complex road conditions. Haimen is a food distribution center heavily guarded by forces. After its failure in Tongwen, it became more cautious, resorting to guerrilla warfare against humans. So it abandoned the 12 o'clock direction? Quite the opposite, Zhuang Qingyan explained with a serious expression, drawing several arrows between the 3 cities. The eastern part has been nearly destroyed. If it wants to break through to the west and north, these locations are inevitable choke points. The Zombie King will undoubtedly make its move there. Once the Zombie King infiltrates deeper into the alliance, the number of zombies will only increase, and the zombie tide will become more frequent. Zhuang Qingyan reconstructed maps of the 3 cities from memory, logically analyzing. I speculate that its first attack will be on Rishufu, and it's likely to be a probing attack. Song K looked at the densely marked points on the terminal and couldn't help but exclaim, "Impressive. Did you memorize all of this?" Although aware of Zhuang Qingyan's extensive knowledge, every display of memory beyond ordinary capabilities never failed to amaze Song K. Pleased by the praise, Zhuang Qingyan's lips curved into a faint smile. "When I first arrived in Qinglan, I didn't have many qualifications. I could only spend time as an ordinary clerk, going through these materials to pass the time." Another instance of "I'm just an ordinary clerk" spiel. In the past, Song K might have questioned, "Aren't you a pharmaceutical researcher?" But at this moment, she struggled to express her feelings, silently gazing at Zhuang Qingyan for 2 seconds before turning away, her expression difficult to read. "Keep pretending if you want to. Someone is tracking us," Luo Xiaoyu suddenly spoke up. Su Cha immediately drew out his dagger and cautiously observed through the cabin door, while Lin Yuyu and Fang Jishu instinctively stopped their conversation. Lu Xiaoyu brought up the rear radar screen, confirming that indeed, 4 hovercars were steadily following behind the starship. Xu Xing hurriedly dashed to the other side, tiptoed, and peered out. Then, in a low voice, he exclaimed, "Oh." As Lu Xiaoyu was about to send a warning signal via radio waves, one of the hovercars suddenly accelerated, leaping forward. The sunroof opened, and a swift figure smoothly climbed onto the car roof, removing tactical goggles and waving towards Song K from a distance. What a coincidence, Tilda. Having recently drunk their specially provided drinks, Song K felt awkward pretending not to recognize them. "Ah, what a coincidence. Where are you all headed?" The person on the car roof stared at Song K's tousled hair and spoke up. Song K didn't respond immediately. Just as the person was about to speak again, their attention shifted abruptly to someone else. The man had a handsome face but an aloof and cold demeanor. His gaze through the porthole was as icy as his expression. The person on the car roof exchanged a glance with him. A surge of unseen tension clashed between their auras, dissolving without a trace. Zhuang Qingyan remained composed. The person on the car roof tapped the roof with his fingertip, a slight smirk on his lips, deliberately provokingly smiling at him. Hey tilde. Then, selectively ignoring Zhuang Qingyan, he continued conversing with Song Ke. Zhuang Qingyan's brow furrowed tighter and tighter. How could he not remember that Song Ke knew the captain of this Tustan? Sorry, I should have spoken first, the person on the car roof chuckled. We're heading to District C72. District C72? Wasn't that Ferrara? The destination of Tustan's group unexpectedly aligned with theirs? We are heading there too, Song Ke replied politely in return. I heard there's a significant competition for Awakeners in District C72. Are you going to watch it? The person on the car roof asked. No, Song Ke felt a slight sense of pride in her heart, her lips subtly curling upward. We're going to participate. You're a finalist? This time, the person on the car roof seemed genuinely surprised. Then I have to go watch. I'll cheer for you. Thank you, Song Ke replied politely. Lady, you're lovely, the person said suddenly, catching her off guard with a phrase in the Alliance language. Huh? Song Ke's grasp of the Alliance language wasn't great to begin with, and the person spoke quickly. She didn't quite catch it at first. Zhuang Qingyan's expression darkened instantly. He turned his wheelchair without a word and glided towards the main control panel. Turn off the autopilot and switch to high orbit mode, he commanded. Why? Luo Xiaoyu lifted his head from a pile of parts. Are you in a rush? Yes, I'm in a rush, Zhuang Qingyan replied expressionlessly. Luo Xiaoyu was about to retort when, for some reason, he fell silent again as he thought of something. He fiddled with the control panel, glanced at Song Ke, then back at Zhuang Qingyan, his gaze uncertain and his movements distracted. Zhuang Qingyan glanced over to find the young man on the hovercar roof leaning forward, his left hand resting on his knee, engaging in a cheerful conversation with Song Ke. He turned back, his tone chillingly cold. Can you handle this or not? If not, move aside, I'll take over. All right, I got it, Luo Xiaoyu conceded reluctantly. With a swift acceleration, the starship shot forward like a meteor, leaving the hovercars far behind in an instant. Zhuang Qingyan was about to return to the window when his wheelchair abruptly halted. He squinted slightly. What guilty thing have you done? Suddenly becoming so accommodating, ready to do whatever asked. Luo Xiaoyu paused for a moment, innocently smiling. Why would you think that? Perhaps not accustomed to making this expression, his forced smile seemed stiff and strained. Zhuang Qingyan stared at him for 2 seconds longer than usual. Ferrara. When the starship descended, an unexpectedly long queue formed at the city gate, extending several kilometers away. It was seemingly endless, with a temporary checkpoint at the front where a few AI officers in police uniforms patrolled, maintaining order at the scene. Song Ke and her group were somewhat surprised. Ferrara had always advocated freedom and welcomed travelers from all directions, without any admission restrictions. How come, after being away for half a month, there was now a checkpoint for entry and exit? Su Cha returned with reconnaissance information and whispered, "It's just a simple population registration. There have been too many refugees pouring in recently. Why are refugees coming to Ferrara?" Song Ke was puzzled. Did they consider Ferrara to be very safe? Ferrara has highly advanced mechanical capabilities, advantageous for fighting against zombies, Zhuang Qingyan explained. Moreover, it's one of the few sea-level cities in the east that has never been attacked. Yes, Su Cha nodded. Those refugees believe that Ferrara is the city blessed by the gods. Song Ke asked, what city? She couldn't help recalling their previous experiences, how Ilya had hunted live zombies extensively to accumulate resources for the throne race competition, detaining them in the underground of the Sakara Theater. Though later, due to the unrest, all those zombies escaped. But who knew if this super AI would have some sudden whims and create more absurdities? Were these refugees making the right choice by coming to Ferrara? Lin Yuyu had donned a mask immediately upon disembarking from the starship. After all, Ferrara was her hometown, and the chances of being recognized were too high. The group returned to their hotel to rest for half a day, setting out for the mobilization meeting only when night fell. The mobilization meeting was a public event held in the central square, filled with excited and jubilant crowds. Song Kei and her companions didn't push forward. Instead, they stood at the periphery, waiting for the holographic projection to appear. After all, Ilya was an AI, and they could see clearly from any location where it emerged. At exactly 8 o'clock, 3 bells rang, neon lights flickered, and in the high sky shrouded in a faint purple mist, flower boats cruised smoothly. Cannons fired in unison, sprinkling shimmering confetti and flower petals. The observation elevators of the tower began to operate, dinging as they stopped at the floating platforms. The magnificent platform rose before the crowd, and soon after, a real and tall figure emerged. The man possessed a dazzling mane of golden hair, a tall and slender figure, clad in a pure white suit of satin material that exuded elegance and nobility. His once colorless glassy eyes had transformed into a more fitting, translucent icy blue. Song Kei shivered involuntarily, sensing traces of someone else in the man's presence. Luo Xinglan? No, this was Ilya. This super-artificial intelligence, the highest executive of Ferrara, had finally achieved his wish and obtained his own body. Ilya's eyes scanned through the dark mass of people in the square, then revealed a smile that was no different from that of a human. "Are you all curious about the format of the final throne race competition?" he asked. "Yes," Ilya mysteriously winked. "The mystery is revealed. It's a marathon. The total route this time covers 200 kilometers over 3 days and 2 nights. Participants must complete the entire course within the time limit and return to the finish line." The crowd was suddenly in an uproar. 200 kilometers, 3 days and 2 nights, what kind of marathon was this? Even an ordinary person could complete that distance in nearly a day, let alone someone with special abilities. "Shush," Ilya gestured for quiet, immediately calming the restless crowd. "I know you'll ask, what's special about a marathon? So, I've set up some tiny check-in point. Every 10 kilometers along the track, there will be a check-in point. Only by collecting all the points will the race be considered completed." Ilya's expression conveyed a hint of trouble. "We have the check-in point, but what about the most important thing, the route?" "So, I personally drew the route map again." Ilya snapped his fingers, and the city's projections simultaneously switched to a real-time map. The citizens were initially puzzled, whispering among themselves. But as time passed, suddenly, earth-shattering cheers erupted. As Song Kei looked at the marathon map displayed in the projection, it became increasingly familiar. Hadn't she seen it somewhere recently? A flash of realization struck her mind. She immediately grasped it. Rongzhou, Greenwater City, Rishufu, Haimen. This wasn't a marathon map. It was clearly a list of cities the Zombie King had already occupied or was about to attack. What was Ilya's intention? Was he asking them to run a marathon on the Zombie King's face? "I heard in the recent consecutive waves of zombies, there's one called the King," Ilya smirked. "I don't like that name. As the magistrate, I don't like my things being coveted by others all the time. So, I've decided to take the initiative. Only through fire and thorns can the true crown of a king be forged." Ilya slowly recited the slogan of the throne race competition, his eyes filled with indifferent mockery and disdain for life and death. "Only the team that kills the king can ascend to the final championship throne." For a moment, the people in the square were silent, then they began shouting his name in unison. "Ilya, Ilya, Ilya." This unparalleled final would undoubtedly trigger a frenzy of viewership in the Eastern Alliance.